Okay, let's talk about the crystal field splitting in case of the octahedral complexes. In the last video, I have given you a brief overview what this crystal field splitting theory is all about and how it says that the bonding in between the metal ion and the ligand is completely an ionic type of bonding, or let us say an electrostatic type of bonding. Okay, and moreover, this theory also explains that why the degeneracy of the d orbitals is lost when the different ligands are approaching to some metal ion. And now, before going into the details of the crystal field splitting in case of octahedral complexes, I once again want to give you a brief idea of this splitting in case of octahedral complexes. So you can see here the splitting pattern in such complexes. But before this splitting can actually take place, we can say here that when some metal ion means M N positive is present in the isolated gaseous state, the d orbitals, I mean the dxy, yz, zx, x square minus y square, as well as the dz square, all these orbitals were degenerate, or they are having the same amount of energy. Okay, so now what happens is when the different ligands approaches the metal ion or the atom, let us say the first one here, second, third, fourth, fifth, and the sixth one. Because why I am taking the six ligands here, because we are interested in some complex whose coordination number is 6 and it is having an octahedral type of geometry. Okay, and now what happens is that when these six ligands approach to this metal ion which is present at the center, they generate a spherical type of electrical field. And because of the interactions and the repulsions of the ligand electrons with that of the metal electrons, what happens is the energy of the metal ion orbitals increases, such that we can represent that thing in this way here. And I can show it like this, that all the d orbitals will experience an increase in energy initially. When there is no bonding here, the ligands are just approaching the metal ion. Okay, please try to understand. At this point here, there is no bonding of the ligands with the metal ion. They are just trying to approach the central metal ion, and the field here, the electrical field which this metal ion is experiencing just right now, it is a spherical type of field, right? So what is going to happen is all the d orbitals here, they will be experiencing repulsions, mutual repulsions, because of the negative and the negative charges here, and the energy of each of these d orbitals will be increased to a same amount. Okay, but still they will remain degenerate. Okay, and finally what will happen is when the bonding will take place, you can see here they will split into these two sets of orbitals, where we used to say that the lower set of these three orbitals, that is dxy, yz, and the dzx, these are known as the T2g orbital set. On the other hand, these two orbitals here, which are the dz square as well as the dx square minus y square, these are known as the EG set of orbitals, right? So ultimately the 5d orbitals in case of an octahedral complex, under the influence of the 6 ligands, they will get split into these two sets of orbitals. The lower one is T2g and the higher one is what? It is the EG set of orbitals. Okay, and now I have also discussed that why only the dz square and the dx square minus y square, they are going high in energy. The reason being, because if you see here the dz square, these two lobes, I mean this one here, this lobe here as well as this lobe here, these two lobes are present on the same axis from which the two ligands are coming. Okay, you can see here this is one of the six ligands, and here this is the second ligand here, right? So obviously if we are having this type of axis, let us say this is the x-axis, y here and z on this side, and if our lobe is present on one of the axes from where the ligand is approaching, definitely they will be experiencing a lot of mutual repulsions in between the negative charge here as well as the negative charge here in this orbit lobe, right? So because of this thing, because of these high interactions, high repulsions, definitely the energy of this orbital, that is the dz square, will increase from here, I mean, to here by this much amount. Okay, and the same thing is happening as far as the dx square minus y square orbital is concerned. You can see here very clearly that instead of these two lobes, in this case four lobes, I mean first one, second, third as well as the fourth one here, all the four lobes, they are present on the same axis from where the ligands are coming, right? So the ligands are coming like this as well as this here from this side also as well as from this side. Okay, so definitely these will be experiencing a lot of mutual repulsions, and that is why the energy of the system, the energy of these dx square minus y square orbitals will increase by the same amount, which is what, which is this much of amount, right? And as far as the other three orbitals are concerned, that is the dxy, yz as well as the dzx, you will see that in all these three orbitals, I mean this one as well as this one here, neither of the lobes they are present on the axis. All the lobes here in all these three orbitals, they are present in between the axis, right? They are present in between the axis, they are not present on the axis, right? So obviously if we are having that same axis and we are having some, let us say, some orbital lobe here which is present in between the axis, let us say x-axis and y-axis, and definitely some ligand is coming from this side onto y-axis or onto the x-axis, let us say the interactions of these negative charges present on the ligands as well as the negative charge present on the orbital lobe, these will be quite less here, the repulsions will be quite less, and this is the reason why these will be lowered in energy like this. Okay, so these are lowered by this much of amount. Okay, so in nutshell, we can say that the shapes of the orbitals are responsible for this kind of splitting, right? I think this is the perfect line to say here that the d orbitals are having different kinds of shapes, and it all depends upon their shape actually. If the lobes are present on the same axis from where the ligands are coming, they will experience high amount of repulsions and they will go high in energy. On the other hand, if the orbital lobes are present not on the axis but they are present in between the axis, they will be experiencing less amount of repulsions and they will get lower in energy, and this is what is happening here right now in case of an octahedral complex, right? But one thing is for sure that even this set of orbitals, I mean the T2G, they will still be higher as compared to the energy of the degenerate orbitals, I mean when the metal atom is present in the isolated gaseous state, right? And you can see this thing here that if this is the amount of energy of the degenerate d orbitals when the metal is present in the gaseous state, even this set of orbitals is still higher in energy, and this is an obvious thing because even the repulsions, means some amount of repulsions will definitely be there if the lobes are present in between the axes like it is there in all these three cases, right? So ultimately, as compared to the energy of the metal ion in the gaseous state, whether we are having these three orbitals named as T2g or we are having these two orbitals named as EG, both the sets here, I'm sorry, they will be going higher in energy, right? And this is what is happening right now here, okay? So this is a basic idea of what we have studied in our previous lecture. The only new thing which I can add here is that this line here, which you can see, is the center of this splitting. This line here is known as the barycenter line, right? Let me write here the barycenter line, okay? And this line actually follows the barycenter rule, which is similar to some center of gravity type of concept, okay? Now if you try to understand what is happening, the energy of these orbitals here, I mean dz square and the dx square minus y square, it will go higher in energy as compared to that of the barycenter line, that is our center of gravity, by an amount of plus 0.6 delta O here, right? And the energy of these three orbitals, that is the T2g set of orbitals, it will go down, I mean by an amount of zero point 0.4 delta O, right? Now delta here actually stands for what? This stands for the crystal field splitting, and O stands for what? O stands for the octahedral complex. Let me write here octahedral complex, okay? So the energy of the EG set of orbitals gets high by an amount of 0.6 delta O, and that of the T2g set of orbitals gets lowered by an amount of 0.4 delta O, and we can also show a negative sign here because it is going down in energy here, right? So why we are calling it as a center of gravity here? Because these two orbitals here, I mean these, let me write here, these two orbitals here, they are going 0.6 delta O higher in energy, and at the same time these three orbitals here, they are going 0.4 delta O lower in energy, okay? And this gives me a value of 6 to the 12 1.2 delta O higher, and even in this case it is 1.2 delta O lower in energy, okay? And now because it is positive here, it is negative here, so it is actually happening by a same amount, okay? So okay, fine, the two orbitals are going above and the three orbitals are going down the barycenter line, but the magnitude is actually same, okay? So the two orbitals are going above by a more amount of energy, means 0.6 delta O. On the other hand, the three orbitals are going down by a lower amount of energy, 0.4 delta O, but at the same time they are 3 in number, right? And at the same time those going above, they are 2 in number, so it will basically it will be giving me the same amount of energy, and it is just equal and opposite. And this is the reason why we used to call this barycenter line also as the center of gravity here, right? And one more thing which I can add here is that this delta O is also equal to 10 dQ units, such that what we are calling here is at 0.6 delta O, we can also call it as plus 6 of dQ, and this number here, that is minus 4 minus 0.4 delta O, we can call it as minus 4 of dQ, okay? So we can also say that on this side two orbitals are going above by a value of plus 6 dq, which gives me 6 to the 12 of plus dq, and these three orbitals here, they are going down by an amount of minus 4 dq. So I can write here minus of 12 dq, right? So because it is the center of gravity line here, the barycenter line, so these two orbitals as well as these three orbitals are moving up and down here by a same amount of energy. The energy remains same here, okay? It may look like that those going above they are 6 dq, and those going below or down in energy they are 4 dq, right? But the number of the orbital balances everything. Those going above are 2 in number and those going down are 3 in number, so it gives me the same amount of energy, right? Okay, now next is the magnitude of the splitting is not same for all complexes, okay? So we have seen that this splitting here of the degenerate d orbital, this is known as the crystal field splitting, okay? And as far as the octahedral complexes are concerned, we get a T2G set here and an EG set here, right? On one side this is 6 dq above the barycenter line, and this is what it is, minus 4 dq below the barycenter line, okay? Now if I say I am having a complex, let me write here the cobalt complex NH3 6 and 3 positive here, and let me say I am having another complex of cobalt with fluorine 6 and let me say 3 negative. In both these complexes the coordination number is 6, the geometry is octahedral, but the magnitude of this splitting, I mean from here to here, will not be same. And this magnitude of splitting we are talking right now, it depends upon various factors, and out of all those factors the nature of ligands is an important factor I must add here, right? So this means it depends upon what type of ligands we are having with some metal atom or the metal ion. They will be affecting the amount as well as the magnitude of this crystal field splitting energy, right? So I can say here that if I am having some octahedral complex, let us say like this, the 4 ligands, the 5th one, the 6th one here, and let me say here are my ligands, okay? And at the center my central metal ion is present like this, and let me say we are having some another complex here, means like this. It is also having these 6 ligand, the first one, second, third, fourth, fifth as well as sixth here. So at the center let us say some metal ion is present like this. So it all depends upon the ligands basically, okay? And if we say that suppose these ligands here, these 6 ligands here in this complex, just imagine these are strong field type of ligands, strong field ligands here, and let us say on this side these ligands are what? These ligands are weak field type of ligands, weak field type of ligands, okay? So basically we are having two complexes here, and in one complex we are having strong field ligands. On the other hand, in the second complex, let us say we are having some type of weak field ligands. So now let us see how they will be affecting the magnitude of the crystal field splitting. What is going to happen is the splitting pattern will be same. We will be having EG set of orbitals, we will be having T2G set of orbitals comprising of dxy, yz, zx here, and this will be having dz square, dx square minus y square. But the magnitude of crystal field splitting will not be same here, okay? And in case of the strong field ligands, the splitting will take place in this way, means these two orbitals go more higher in energy and these three orbitals will go much lower in energy. like this, such that as compared to this here, I mean from here to here, if we are having some strong field ligands in some complex, the magnitude of crystal field splitting, I mean this magnitude, it will be greater as compared to some other complex in which the magnitude will be much less in amount. Okay, it will be much less here, right? So the idea here is that the magnitude always depends upon the nature of the ligands. If the ligands are of strong field, this will go higher and this will go even lower, such that as compared to this magnitude, in case of strong field ligands, the magnitude here will become even greater, right? And if the ligands are such as weak field type of ligands, what will happen? This splitting will be there, but it will be having lesser magnitude, right? So it is not same for all the complexes. This is the important thing here to understand, right? Next is the preferential filling of electrons after the splitting of the d orbitals, when the ligands results in the formation of ionic bonds with the metal atom. Okay, so there are possible two different kinds of cases here. In one case, let us say we are having a strong field type of ligands in some complex, strong field ligands, and let us say the second case is when the ligands are of the weak field strength, I mean the weak field ligands here, right? So just as I have taught you that in case of strong field ligands, what will happen is these 5d orbitals which were initially degenerate, what will happen to them? They will split in the same pattern, but because of the strong field, the amount or the magnitude of splitting will be quite high, right? If these two are lying here, I mean the EG set of orbitals, the other three will be lying very down here, something like this, right? So that I can now write here the T2G set of orbitals, right? Now in case the ligands are of weak field, a similar type of splitting will be there as far as the 5 degenerate orbitals are concerned, but this time the magnitude of the splitting will be quite less, such that I can show the EG orbitals like this and the T2G orbitals lying here like this. Okay, let me write here the EG, and this is what, this is my T2G set here. Okay, now before moving further, I want to mention here and I want to confirm that you people really understand what is happening here. The increase in the magnitude of splitting and the decrease in the magnitude of splitting is one thing, right? But do not forget that we are having at the center here, that is our barycenter line, right? So this will always be like that, whatever amount of energy it is going up here, by that same amount of energy it will be going down here like this. Okay, so it will always be plus of 6 dq and this will always be minus 4 of dq here, right? And the same thing is happening here. These two orbitals are going up always by an amount of plus 6 dq, and these three orbitals are going down by an amount of minus 4 dq here. Okay, so the magnitude of splitting is one thing, but this rule will always be followed here. This is my what I can say here, this is my barycenter line or the center of gravity, right? So these two orbitals will always be going up by 6 dq, and this thing will be balanced always by these three orbitals moving down by an amount of minus 4 dq. Okay, and on this side what I am having is, this is my energy axis, right? This is what, this is my energy axis. Let me write here E N E R G Y, energy axis. Okay, so one more thing I want to add here is that let me write here the splitting is taking place like this here, and let me say this is the barycenter line. I never meant that the amount here it is going up. It will be this thing here will always be same as this thing. Okay, these three are going down here. You can definitely see here. Okay, if this is 6 in magnitude, this is what it is always 4, right? So this is not equal. It is not like this is also 5 and this is also 5. It is not like this is also 6, this is also 6 here. So whatever orbitals are going up, they are by an amount of 6, and whatever orbitals are going down, they are going down by an amount of minus 4. Okay, and it is all about the number of orbitals. 2 are going up and 3 are going down. So if it is plus 6 and if it is minus 4, even then they will be balancing each other, right? So now let us say that in this case here, let us say we are talking about a D7 type of system. Okay, let us say we are having a D7 type of electronic configuration here as well as here in this case. Okay, so that I can show here the 7 or electrons. They will be filled like, because the orbitals are degenerate initially, 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7 here, right? Even in this case 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7 here, right? Now what is going to happen is, because we want to talk about the preferential filling of electrons in these orbitals after splitting, I mean, so what is going to happen is, when I will be filling the electrons, it will be like 1 here, 2 3. Now the fourth electron, instead of going up here, I mean from here to here, obviously it will be requiring a lot of energy. And why it is all happening? It is all because of our strong field ligands, that the magnitude of splitting is very high in such a case. Okay, so the fourth electron here, for filling, it will be choosing not the EG set of orbitals, because for that it requires a high amount of energy. Instead of going above and covering this much of distance and this much of magnitude of energy, what it will do is, it will keep on going to the lower set of orbitals. So I can show here the fourth electron here like this. And same is the story with the fifth electron as well as the sixth electron like this. Okay, and now the seventh electron, because there is no choice, so it has to go and it has to be accommodated in the higher set of orbitals, I mean the EG set of orbitals, such that I can show here the seventh electron like this here, right? So the preferential filling of electron in case of a strong field ligand complex will be like this. It will be 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then when there is no choice left, the seventh electron has to go covering this much of distance, and it has to fill this orbital here like this, right? On the other hand, the story is totally different for the weak field type of ligands, because you can see here the magnitude of splitting, I mean this here is very low. So what can happen is, the filling will take place in this way: 1 2 3. The fourth electron will definitely be covering this much of magnitude easily, because the magnitude is quite low in nature. So the fourth electron will go here, fifth one, and then the sixth one will be filled here, and then comes the seventh like this. Okay, so once again the magnitude of splitting is low here, so it will be following the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. The electrons will tend to remain parallel to each other as far as possible. So the filling will be like 1 2 3 4 5, then 6, and then 7, right? So after that you can see here, in this case, in case of strong field ligands, the number of unpaired electrons is quite less. So we used to call this as the low spin complex here, right? It will be a low spin type of complex, right? So we have this thing, that is the idea of the high spin and the low spin complex, which I am just elaborating. In this case, you can see the number of unpaired electrons will definitely be high. So we will be calling such complex as what? It will be known as a high spin type of complex, a high spin type of complex, right? So we can also say here that in this case, the delta, let me write here, the delta O mean the crystal field splitting. I mean this thing here, in case of octahedral complex, it will always be greater in energy as compared to that of the pairing energy, that is represented by the symbol capital P, right? On the other hand, in this case, always the crystal field splitting for the octahedral complex will always be less as compared to that of the pairing energy. So we can say, whenever we are having some strong field type of ligands, the complex will always be a low spin type of complex, and in that the delta O will always be greater than pairing energy. On the other hand, if we are having some transition metal complex in which the ligands are of weak field type, the complex will always be a high spin complex, and delta O will always be less than the pairing energy, right? So we can also understand the concept of pairing energy like this, because in this case the delta O here is high. Let me write here, it is high, and the pairing energy is low. So what will happen is, because of this low pairing energy, the electrons can easily pair up, right? So let me write here, the electrons can easily pair up, as we have just seen in this case, right? On the other hand, in this case, the delta O is low here and the pairing energy is high, so the pairing won't be easy, right? In this case, let me write here, the pairing won't be easy because of the high amount of pairing energy, and that is why the electrons are filled like 1 2 3. Instead of pairing here, the fourth electron goes here, and then fifth, and then when there is no choice, the sixth electron is, and the seventh electrons are then get paired, right? So because of high pairing energy, so pairing won't be easy here in this case. Okay, so in nutshell, the strong field means easy pairing, a low spin type of complex, delta O will be greater than P. And in case we are having weak field type of ligands, a high spin type of complex, delta O will be less than pairing, and pairing won't be easy in such a case, right? And now is the time to calculate the crystal field splitting energies for different kinds of configurations in case of the transition metal complexes. So we can start from the D1 system. Let me write here the d orbitals containing a single electron, and on this side let me write here the case of a d2 configuration, means the d orbitals containing 2 electrons, right? So because in this case it is containing a single electron, I can simply represent it in this way here. Okay, and whatever I have shown here is what? These are the degenerate orbitals in which the energy of all the 5 orbitals is same, right? So in this case, because 2 electrons are there, it is a d2 configuration, so better to show the filling like this, okay? And once again, these are the degenerate type of orbitals here, okay? And now, because there are two types of possibilities, the strong field ligands in which delta O is higher than pairing energy, and the second possibility is definitely a weak field type of ligand and in which the delta O is lower than the pairing energy. So we will be discussing both the cases from for the configurations from D1 to D10, right? So the first two cases are what? The D1 and the D2 case for strong field as well as for weak field, even in this case for the strong field as well as for the weak field, right? So now in order to calculate the crystal field splitting energy, what we can do is, because in this case we are having a single electron, so it will be filled like this here, okay? And in case we are having some second complex, okay, this is for a first complex which is having strong field ligands, and this is for a second complex here, okay? I am just showing the degenerate orbitals, in the form of sharing, right? Means I am not showing this separate for this one and this complex here. So the diagram is such that it is for both the complexes, right? So in case of weak field ligand, because there is present a single electron, so the filling will be like this, okay? And as far as the 2 electrons are concerned, in case of strong field ligand, it can be like this, and in case the ligand field is weak, it will be same even here, right? Such that the crystal field stabilization energy in this case will be what? It will be, because it contains a single electron and it is present in the T2G set of orbitals, which is minus 4dq below the barycenter line. So what we have to do here is we have to go for the single electron which is present here, and as it is minus 4dq below the barycenter line, so I just have to do minus 4dq here like this, such that the crystal field stabilization energy here will be what? It will be a total of minus 4 dq for this type of complex, right? And as far as the weak field is concerned, it will be same here. The crystal field stabilization energy will be equal to a single electron, you can see here, and even this is what it is, minus 4 dq below the barycenter line. So I will be multiplying this by minus 4 dq here, and this will give me the same amount of crystal field stabilization energy in case we are having a D1 type of configuration, okay? So for a D1 type of configuration, it will not matter whether we are having a strong field or a weak field, the CFSE will be same and the amount will be minus 4 dq in both different types of complexes, right? And now even in case we are having a D2 type of configuration, the crystal field stabilization energy here will be what? It will be, because there are present 2 electrons, so 2 multiply by the, this is what? This is minus 4 dq below the barycenter line, so it will be minus 4 dq here, and same is the case here, 2 multiply by minus 4 dq, which gives us a minus 8 dq of CFSE, means the crystal field stabilization energy, okay? So it won't matter in case of D1 as well as in case of D2 configuration whether we are having a strong field or we are having a weak field, the amount of crystal field stabilization energy is same even in this case here, right? And whatever electrons are filled in these orbitals here, we have to do what? We have to multiply by the factor that is plus 6 dk, okay? And we will see that shortly in our next type of examples, okay? So let me clear all this, okay? So next will be what? It will be a D3 and a d4 type of configuration, right? So 3 electrons means 1, 2, 3 here. These are the degenerate orbitals, and because there are 3 electrons, the first one here, second one, and the third one, and even if the field is weak, it will be like 1, 2, and 3 here. Okay, so what I have to do is I just have to multiply the 3 electrons by minus 4 dq here. Even in this case, 3 multiplied by minus 4 dq, which will give me a value of minus 12 dq. Here also minus 12 dq. Okay, so it is same once again as far as the D3 configuration is concerned. Okay, and now let us see what is going to happen in case we are having a D4 type of configuration. First of all, in the degenerate set of orbitals, we can fill these 4 electrons like 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. As far as the strong field is concerned, this magnitude is quite high, so the filling will be like what? It will be 1, 2, 3. The fourth electron, instead of going up here, it will prefer to remain down in the T2G set of orbitals, something like this. Okay. As far as the weak field ligands are concerned, I mean some other complex, the filling will be like what? It will be 1, 2, 3, and the fourth electron can definitely go here, filling it like this, such that in this case the CFSE will no longer be same, because we can see here in this case the crystal field stabilization energy will be what? It will be 1, 2, 3, 4 electrons. They are present in minus 4 dq below the barycenter line, which will give me 4 for the 16 minus dq here, right? Whereas in this case the crystal field stabilization energy will be what? It will be 3 electrons present minus 4 dq plus 1 electron present in plus 6 of dq, which will give me 4 3s are 12 minus of 12 dq plus 6 dq here, giving me what? Giving me a value of minus 6 dq here, right? And one more thing which we need to add here is the amount of pairing energy that is needed here for the electrons to pair up, right? So what I need to do is I need to add a plus 1 pairing energy here like this. Okay, so as far as the D4 configuration is concerned, the crystal field stabilization energy in case of some complex having strong field ligands will be what? It will be minus 16 dq plus a p here, that is the pairing energy, right? I mean this thing. Okay, whereas if we are having some complex having D4 electronic configuration, but at the same time it is having weak field of ligands, the total CFSE will be what? It will be minus 6 of dq, right? So let us move further. Let me erase all this. Okay, so now let us see what will happen in case of a D5 and a D6 type of configuration, right? So first of all, let me fill here the electron, the 5 electrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. Okay, so as far as the strong field is concerned, it will be like what? 1, 2 here, 3, instead of going up because of large magnitude of crystal field splitting, the fourth electron and then the fifth one here, right? On the other hand, if we are having a weak field, it will be like what? It will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. Okay, such that the crystal field stabilization energy here will be what? It will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electrons occupying T2G orbital, so minus 4 dq here, which will give me minus 20 of dq plus 2 pairing energies. Okay, the first one is for this and for the second one is this. Okay, on the other hand, in some weak field complex, the crystal field will be what? It will be 3 electrons occupying T2G minus 4 dq plus 2 electrons occupying Eg orbitals mean plus 6 of dq, which will give me minus 12 dq plus 12 of dq. This means a total of 0 crystal field stabilization energy. Okay, and as far as the d6 is concerned, the filling in the degenerate orbitals will be like what, 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. Okay, and as far as the strong field ligand is concerned, it will be like 1 2 3 4 5 and 6 here. Okay, whereas in case of weak field ligand, it will be like 1 2 3 4 5 and 6 here, right? So that I can write here the crystal field stabilization energy here will be what, it will be 6 into minus 4 dq, which will give me minus 24 of dq here. Okay, plus definitely there will be some pairing energy. Now before discussing that, let us talk about the weak field first of all. It will be what, it will be 4 electrons occupying minus 4 of dq plus 2 electrons occupying Eg orbital, so plus 6 of dq here, which will give me minus 16 dq plus 12 of dq, giving me minus 4 of dq here, right? So now you can see, even in case of weak field ligands, one pairing is occurring, but it is totally a natural and a by default process. Okay, so we will not be adding a 1p here because it has to take place. There is no way out, there is no other way. Okay, so there is no need to add a pairing energy here. So for a weak field ligand d6 configuration, the total CFSE will always be minus 4 of dq without any pairing energy. Okay, the second thing, in case of a strong field d6 configuration, okay fine, this is the CFSE minus 24 of dq, but now instead of adding 3p here, I mean 3p here, because you can say we are having 3 pairings, the first one, the second one and the third one. I want to tell you people here that by default in a d6 type of configuration, one pairing is actually a mandatory type of thing. Okay, so because one pairing is mandatory, so out of these 3 we will not be counting any one of these pairings. Let us say we are not counting this one here, okay, because it is a mandatory type of pairing. Okay, so now we are left with 2 pairings here which are occurring intentionally. So instead of 3p, we will be adding a number 2 of p here, such that this will be the final crystal field stabilization energy for a d6 configuration in case of a strong field ligand, right? I repeat, dear students, if there is no way out and pairing is occurring, so there is no need to add the pairing energy in case of the final crystal field stabilization energy values. But in case of strong field ligands, where there was actually a way, means electrons can be filled here but they are not going up because they are not having sufficient amount of energy, so in that case we always need to add the pairing energies. Okay, but if in the weak field ligand some pairing is taking place, so we have to neutralize that pairing even in case of strong field. Like in this case, in case of weak field, one pairing was occurring naturally, so instead of counting 3 pairings here, we will be cancelling 1 and we will be counting just 2 pairings because they are occurring intentionally and this one is occurring naturally here, right? So it is like this. Okay, so now we are left with the D7, the D7 and D8 configuration. So I will be fast in this. 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8 here, right? Now in case of strong field, it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7 here, right? In case of weak field, it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7 here. Okay, so the CFSE here will be what? It will be 5 electrons occupying T2G, so minus 4 of dq plus 2 electrons occupying Eg, so plus 6 of dq. Okay, so you can calculate this. It will be minus 20 plus 12 here, so this will give me minus of 8 dq. No pairing here because it is by default, it is occurring naturally, right? On the other hand, in case of a strong field ligand, 6 electrons occupying T2G, so minus 4 of dq, plus 1 electron occupying Eg, so plus 6 of dq here, which gives me minus 24 plus 6 here, and this will come out to be minus of 18 dq. Okay, and as there are three pairings here, the first one, second one, third one, but out of these three, two are occurring naturally, this and this one here, they are occurring naturally, so we will cancel, we will assume that because this is occurring naturally, so we are left with only one intentional pairing, so we will be adding here minus 18 dq plus of p here, right? And in this case it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8 here, right? And in this case it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8 here. So the CFSE here will be what? It will be 6 into minus 4 of dq plus 2 into plus 6 of dq, which gives minus 24 plus 12, and this will come out to be minus of 12 dq here without any pairing, right? In this case it will be 6 into minus 4 dq plus 2 into plus 6 of dq, which gives us minus 24 plus 12 of dq, and this will be what? This will be minus 12 of dq. Okay, and you can see here in case of the D8 configuration, the strong field and the weak field, they are giving similar type of configuration even after splitting. Okay, you can see here 6 electrons here as well as here, 2 electrons here as well as here. Okay, so this will give me a same amount of crystal field stabilization energy. The only thing is we need to consider the pairing here, but because the three pairings are occurring naturally, 1 2 and 3, so even in this case 1 2 and 3, and it will neutralize this thing, so there is no need to add any pairing energy, there is no need to add any p symbol here. Okay, and now finally we are left with the D9 as well as the D10 configuration, D9 as well as D10. So it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9 here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9, and then the 10th electron here, right? So in strong field 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9 here. In weak field it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9 here. Okay, and you can compare once again, it's the same configuration. If the system is a D9 type of configuration, it will not matter whether we are having a strong field or whether we are having a weak field, because you can see here the 6 electrons in the lower set of orbital here also, and the 3 electrons here in the upper set of orbital. So we can jointly calculate the CFSE here, and that will come out to be 6 of minus 4 dq plus 3 of plus 6 dq, which gives me minus 24 plus 18. It will be minus of 6 dq here. Okay, and the naturally pairing is first pairing, second, third and fourth pairing, and here also 1 2 3 and 4 pairings are there that will neutralize, so no need to add any pairing energy here. Okay, so finally we are left with the D10 system, and because it is a fully filled configuration, so it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 then 9 and 10 here, right? And in this case it will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 then 9 and 10 here, and here also the scenario is same as far as the strong field or the weak field is concerned. So jointly we can calculate the crystal field stabilization energy, and that will come out to be 6 into minus 4 dq plus 4 into plus 6 of dq, which will give me minus 24 plus of 24, which will give me a 0 of crystal field stabilization energy. And there are all natural type of pairings here, so even if we are having a strong field, the pairings will cancel each other, and there is no need to add any pairing energy here in case of the strong field type of ligands, right? So this is all about the calculations of the crystal field stabilization energy. It is an easy task and it can be done if you know how to do for one type of configuration. It won't be difficult to carry out these calculations for other type of systems and the configurations, right? So this is all about the crystal field splitting in case of the octahedral complexes. We have seen that why the splitting is taking place. We have seen that how we can preferentially fill the electrons after splitting has taken place, and moreover we have seen that how we can calculate the crystal field stabilization energy for all types of configurations. Okay, so this is it. Thank you so much.